Hello, this is Witch's Hex, and I'm going to be doing a Jack Bros hard mode run. If you're looking for the way that I do capture for this console, because this is a real Virtual Boy, check out the Beat the Game category video I did. It starts with an explanation. That'll be linked in the description. By entering a cheat code on the page, we can access a hard mode in this little action puzzler for the Virtual Boy. So this game is composed of 6 levels, each composed of a number of floors. And in order to pass a floor, you need to pick up all the keys, and that'll open the way to the next floor, and so on and so forth. Now, what's different about hard mode is, although all the floor layouts are the same, there are more enemies, things are remixed, locations are remixed, just the game is generally pretty substantially harder. So one thing you might notice is that you can see that little orb on the left. That is one of a few item types. The most basic is health. Health depletes over time or when you get hit. We actually got another orbs dropped by an enemy, because that can also happen. These give you 3 floating orbs around you that'll each absorb 1 hit that's directed at you. They're actually our best friend. They'll let us do a number of damage boosts, including on this first boss. So here we have Lamia. All the bosses are the same on normal difficulty. You basically just stand and you can do 1 cycle if you have 3 orbs or 2 orbs. If you have less, you have to actually dodge her attacks, but you can still get the 1 cycle. So that's Area 1. So we had a choice of 3 characters at the beginning of the game, but we opted to take Jack Ripper. The reason we did this is Jack Ripper is by far the fastest character. Not only does he have the fastest walking speed, but his weapon does the most damage. The trade-off is that he doesn't have a ranged attack, which makes some puzzles actually impossible to solve without taking damage. But it's well worth that trade-off to have the movement speed and the damage, especially the damage. So what you may notice is that sometimes enemies will hold keys, and you have to kill them to take the keys. No big deal. Get them all and go down. This floor is damage boost. We do a lot of damage boosts here. Something hard mode likes to do is put these spike traps everywhere. So they are in a lot of places. On normal we wouldn't see this many. We actually had a pretty good cycle there. We didn't have to do anything. Now the next standard item that's not just health we can pick up is this invincibility potion. And this thing is amazing. So not only does it make us invincible, it also makes us kill every enemy in contact rather than having to kill them, and it boosts our speeds potentially. It can make a big difference on some bigger floors. The thing about hard mode to keep in mind is that because there are more enemies, there's actually a lot of consistency to hard mode. Because we have more chances of enemy drops, so we're more likely to see good items. Of course, in exchange, it kind of balances out, because in exchange, well, the game is harder. So this boss is pretty straightforward. The one thing to watch out for is that little attack it does where it launches out. You'll notice that I took a hit. That's because if I were to attack into that attack, instead of taking a hit, I would bounce off and lose a bunch of time. So I just take that hit, and that saves a substantial amount of time rather than having to bounce off and come back. So here we have the Temple of Nightmares, our level 3. So so these little spike things, they'll close in on us and hit us. I could step in front of them to tempt them out so that I didn't get hit, but it would be substantially slower to do that, so we're just going to take the hit. It will mean we're on lower health, but it's definitely worth it if you're trying to speedrun this. So we actually got both non-health item types there. With the orbs and the potion. The potion really didn't do too much for us, but hey, it's useful. So this floor is a little interesting. It's the first floor that has 2 exits. There's a few floors like it in the game. This exit's faster. It puts us on a different path for the next few floors. These ones are shorter than the ones on the other side, so we do this one. So those are wizards. Something hard mode likes to do is where normal modes gave you a wizard, hard mode likes to give you like 400 wizards. Wizards aren't as scary as the game makes you like to think. Their attacks do a whopping 5 damage. They can be dangerous if you touch them, they do 30. Anyway, those two enemy types act like Darknuts in The Legend of Zelda, so that's what I call them. If you hit them from the shield, you won't kill them. So you want to get them around corners where you can get them from the side. Anyway, these little ghost enemies, they're called poltergeists. In hard mode, they will hold one of two things. They will either always drop 50 health, which is the biggest health total something can drop, or they will have a key. You can always tell where the keys are by the minimap in the bottom right. So, you know, that's a little handy tool. If an enemy is holding a key and you don't know which way it went, you can just check the minimap and figure it out. So we're actually about to go and do what is probably, when playing as this character, the most annoying boss in the game. This boss really expects you to have a projectile, and as a result, we're not going to be able to dodge this boss's attack while still doing damage. So this boss shoots out this bat that teleports randomly, the floor is moving, and just spawns somewhere in the middle of the room. You don't know where, it's random. The best strategy is to stand behind and just go get as many hits as you can. Get hit by all the bats. You wouldn't be able... The only way to dodge them would also result in you doing no damage. It's one of those things with Ripper. In any case, there we go. We didn't get too bad of a pattern. 4196. This game has a password system. We'll never use it. So this floor has the most exits in the game. We're going to take the bottom right exit because it's the, well, the bottom middle exit, I suppose, because it's the fastest one. That was actually extremely lucky right there. This is one of the best locations in the game to get a to get a potion, because look how big this floor is and look how full it is of enemies that do damage. Unfortunately, we're going to get a special time bonus. So those bonuses have a couple conditions that will cause them to occur. One of them is you kill a number of enemies too fast. That one's kind of just something you eat in stride. You know, you don't really want to avoid it because it means playing slowly. The other thing, however, is if you clear a room without attacking. So you want to make sure to attack on every room unless you are super desperate for health. Anyway, so this room has a puzzle, and depending on what we have, we might skip it. Because we have... It's normally orbs that let us skip it, but because we have so much health from not having to damage boost before, we're actually just going to skip it anyway. So we're just going to walk through all the lasers in the fastest pattern possible. What you normally are supposed to do is go around top and, like, kind of take care of them from the bottom. Or go around top and, like, stab them from the top, but... That's substantially faster, what we did there. So unless we get bad luck, we do that. It doesn't actually lose a ton of time to do it the other way, but it loses some, and we didn't have to do it. So here we get to meet these centipede enemies. They spit fire. They're kind of jerks. Anyway, one of them has a key, and unfortunately decided to take a bit of a rude pattern. So we had to go chase it down. Not too big of a deal. Anyway, here's the other type of laser generators. You're supposed to block them in with rocks, but that would be super slow, especially when you can just walk around them. Because we're low on health, we're going to need to be a little careful coming up, especially with the boss that's coming up soon. This is one of the hardest bosses in the game. But this room gives us a bit of health. And we do have our Jack Stars, which I haven't talked about yet. But notice those stars in the bottom left of the screen? Those are going to become important very soon. Anyway, this room wants you to, like, go up and around to do stuff, but it's substantially faster to just go in a straight line. You can't even solve this puzzle with Ripper because it expects you to hit those, like, those laser generators from a distance, which you cannot do. Anyway, so this boss does 30 hits per health, or 10, depending on the attack you get hit by. We're not going to do super well here without Jack Stars. So, Jack Stars can have one of two effects. On bosses, they do a set amount of damage. They actually do damage slower than it takes to hit something with your attack. So, we only use them when we need to. It was still faster to use them there than to pick up more health so we could actually fight this boss, especially this boss, which becomes immune to attack often. They also kill all enemies on screen when you're not fighting a boss. They actually have different effects depending on which character you're playing as, but kill all enemies on screen is the best effect. The other two just freeze all enemies in place or do damage to enemies. So here we get into Mecha Fortress, and this is when the game starts to ramp off its difficulty. So here we have this floor. This floor is is almost symmetrical. You need to go up one side, get some keys, and then go down, and then go back down. Then you need to go down the other to get to the exit. So we grab a few keys here. There's some health here. It's not worth going around to get 5 health, so just ignore the 5s. Depending on how desperate we are for Jack Stars, there's 2 potential Jack Stars we can grab here. Jack Stars aren't super important for a little while, so with 3 even, we're gonna not take the extra. Maybe during a marathon I would have taken the extra, but not during this run. So yeah, I accidentally hit the thing there. The whole point of this room is to not hit those, but it's only 30 damage, so no big. This floor has a puzzle where you're supposed to take out some laser generators, you know, or dodge those laser generators for long enough to take out the 2 lasers there, or you can just walk through it and take a whopping 30 damage. There's some safety health here too, which will cancel out one of the 2 hits you're gonna get, so, you know. With 3 Jack Stars, it was worth picking up the safety health. There's also another Jack Star on the other side if you need it, but we don't need too many Jack Stars until the next level. And the next level will give us most of the ones we need. It has a lot more, especially on hard mode, because enemies can drop Jack Stars, and with how many enemies we have on hard mode, it's you know, it's worth doing. So we're actually gonna wait to get hit by this enemy, and the reason behind that is it only does 5 damage, whereas the Paradises do 30, and now we're lined up to be hit by arrows all the way down, so we can walk up in a straight line, because the intended way to do that level is to like weave back and forth. It's really slow. So here we meet our least favorite enemy type, Cyclops. We're never gonna encounter a Cyclops, because if we see a floor with a Cyclops in it, we're gonna do that. See, not only are Cyclops the only enemies that are tough enough to not die in one hit with Ripper's knife, which, you know, makes them dangerous enough, but they also, every few seconds, will smack the floor, and when they do, they freeze you in place. Which is incredibly slow, so basically whenever we see that, we're going. Anyway, once again, one of those puzzles that you can't solve without taking damage on with Ripper, so we're just going to damage boost through. Not that we wouldn't have damage boosted through anyway. Be faster. So anyway, just ignore those. You're good. Anyway, there's a bunch of keys on the floor. Those 2 are holding keys. Get the keys. That actually lets you down on the floor you were just on, so you gotta walk through here again. Again, the puzzle is don't disrupt the laser generator. That's the whole puzzle. See, laser generators are tempting to hit when you're playing casually because they have really good drop rates for stuff. So unfortunately, we're going to get hit by the second laser generator there. We could have gone through the first, but we would have had to take an additional hit. And we're kind of on low health. So fortunately, we get some ghosts here, though. So remember, on hard, some of the ghosts will drop keys, so some of them we have to get. Some of them just have health on this floor, which we also want right now, because with how we're a little low on Jack Stars, so we don't want to resort to using them on the boss. See, the invincibility potion there is an objectively good thing, but it makes this a little harder. For the sole reason of it makes it harder to trick ghosts at corners. Because you can... So, the ghosts respond to where Jack is, but your attack actually goes slightly off the corner. So you can not make the ghosts run away because they will run away from you, and trick them on corners, which is usually faster. The one exception is right here, where we're gonna manipulate all the ghosts into going into the corner and then kill them all at once. It's always fun watching like 5 keys go in at once. So I played things a little risky there. I tried to wait till the last second to use the Jackstar. The reason you wait till the last second is because it gives you higher odds of getting to get drops if they occur. So I pushed it a half second too long. Not a big deal, lost a couple seconds, but that's why we always use Jackstars on these floors. So, this is weird. There's nothing here. Uh-oh. What's this? Oh no, it's a soldier parade! That one's running late. Uh-oh. 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 Who shouldn't have gotten left behind from the pack? Might have lived. So here we have our next boss. This boss is interesting. So this boss has a lot of health, but it only has 2 attacks. The first is this flappy attack where it tries to push you backwards, and the second is where it breathes fire. You can really just stay on this boss. The spikes on the floor can be a bit of a pain. You can actually run around them, but it's usually slow, so you just stick on the boss. The boss may have a lot of health, but it is a huge hitbox that you can, is rife for the abusing. Anyway, here we get into Crystal Palace. Now, if you've played this game casually on normal difficulty, odds are this is where you gave up. Now, on hard mode, this level's even harder. This is where things really start to get extremely challenging, but fortunately, right off the bat, we get an invincibility potion, which lets us normally I wouldn't take care of all the enemies there, but with an invincibility potion, it's worth it to try to see what they drop. Because it only takes like a second, and we might wind up with orbs and a bunch of health. Incidentally, we wound up with orbs and a bunch of health. So that was a good move. So this room is kind of annoying. We fortunately got good goblin patterns there, so it wasn't too big of a deal. We have those paradises coming down on you, and in addition, you have goblins walking in 40 random directions with things. Anyway, here's where wizards can get annoying. So, especially with this many. So remember, hard mode likes to put 4 million wizards on a screen, and any screen that had 1 wizard in normal. This only is a problem when you have block pushing puzzles. Also, shoutouts to this room. It tries to trick you to think that it made you go back to the beginning, but it's actually just an identical room. Anyway, these wizards like to spawn in the path of your puzzle. There's nothing you can do to stop them from doing this. You just gotta hope they don't. It doesn't lose a ton of time, but it feels bad. And, yeah. You just sit there really wishing you could go. So anyway, here's a little fun segment. We have these goblins that kind of walk around aimlessly. Goblins having keys is actually the... You'd think that an enemy that's introduced on the second floor of the game wouldn't be your biggest nightmare, but you'd be wrong. The goblins' random walking patterns make them the worst enemies to have keys. But follow them on the minimap and and you should take care of them, no problem. So, we have these dark zones here, which we've seen a couple times, but basically what they mean is we can't see what's underneath. Now, this floor has goblins, which are laying bombs under them, in addition to spike traps, so good luck. Anyway, this puzzle is something. You need to hit these 2 warp pads that I'm going to walk on. That's really all there is to it. You just gotta know it's those 2. Anyway, so this floor here, you usually wind up on low health here, and that's okay, because remember, these laser generators have a tendency to... A, they almost always drop something, and B, they usually drop something good, so we got some free orbs there. So we're gonna see what we can get from these. So we're getting a good amount of health. Usually it's worth taking care of most of these, just for the stuff. Like, we came in here with just over 100 health, and we're leaving with upwards of 200 in orbs. So the spike traps under the dark zones are real mean. But you can feel them out with audio cues. A lot of the time it's worth just damage boosting through them anyway, because it's faster than waiting them out. So fun fact, you can't actually get these ghosts for health with Jack Ripper, because they... So this actually is the only place in the game it requires you to do the corner trick, but with Ripper, but it also requires you to do the corner trick with a Jack with a projectile. Anyway, there's a puzzle here. We're going to walk through it because it's faster. And because we got this invincibility, we're just going to take care of those last two for goodies. I accidentally stepped on the wrong tile there, which is a little frustrating. It's no big deal, especially with the invincibility, which is incidentally why I made the mistake in the first place, because if I didn't have it, I wouldn't be moving so fast. But, yeah, with the invincibility, we're going to pick up that Jack Star because we're a little low on them. There's a potion over there. It's unfortunately in a little bit of a rough area. If you're doing really poorly on health, it couldn't be worth it to go get that beforehand, but we're doing fine, so we're all good. So we got more orbs there, which is going to be very handy. There is never a point in the game that okay, let me rephrase that. The only possible way orbs can drop and you don't want them is if you already have full orbs. That's the only scenario. They are always, always, always good. Like, I think a shift in how much you've played this game is you tend to think that the invincibility potion is the best item, but once you've played enough, you really start to appreciate why the orbs are the best item. That being said, a well-placed invincibility potion is quite good. Anyway, so this floor is what I call the ghost hunt. There's a lot of poltergeists that spawn here, and you can kill them, and they all drop 50 health. But we actually are so good on health this time that we're gonna take the easy ones and then just go. We don't need to worry about it. Anyway, we got an invincibility potion here. This is one of the best floors to get an invincibility potion on because it's really long. So that was a bit of good luck. Not to mention it lets you walk through all these fires. So here we're going to have to damage boost, except for we got an invincibility potion drop. We're getting some pretty decent luck here. So this room, there's always a 50 health up here, so we're going to grab that, just in case. It takes like no time to get. Missed the key, and I just realized that, so that's a few seconds gone, no big. Anyway, this is the final non-boss floor in the game. If you've ever played Pokemon Red and Blue, this is like Sabrina's gym. Random teleports bring you places. Now, here's a little way to remember which ones to go through. You always want to, for the fastest possible route, you always want to go through the teleporter that's far away from the key that's on the floor. Because there's always one that's held by an enemy and one that's on the floor. You always want to go to the far one from the key. Which results in down right, or down left, up right. This is the same on both normal and hard. It's down left, up right. So anyway, here's our final boss, and a little fun fact about this boss is although the floors have been harder, all of the bosses have been the same on both difficulties, except for this one. On normal, you only have one set of paradises coming in at you, and this one you have a vertical and a horizontal one, and it makes this fight brutal. Especially with the fact that we only have 5 Jack Stars. Because this is a boss you really want to get to use Jack Stars against, especially with how much you have to retreat from the boss. Because if you're standing in the paradises, they're not going to move. So you need to back and dodge out of them. Which means that we're dealing less damage than normal, so Jack Stars aren't really slower in this one. Now we're going to, because we have such low Jack Stars, we're actually going to ration them out. The boss has 2 attacks. One of them spits out these bees. and the other spits out like these energy balls. We're gonna use this to take care of the bees, because the only other way to take care of the bees is to kind of back off slowly and handle the bees one by one, and that's slow. So we actually have enough health here that we can, you know, damage boost through a little of it, but not the whole thing. Take care of the boss. That was a fantastic run. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, if you want to see how the commentary works, I have a link in the description to my Beat the Game run, which starts with this capture because, again, this is a real Virtual Boy. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to cut my mic here and let you all enjoy the credits music.